Hey everyone, Dr. Zach Long here from the barbellphysio.com. Today we're going to talk about the push press, which most of you know is a great exercise for improving sports performance, but for a lot of people in the strength and conditioning world, it's a really undervalued exercise in terms of analyzing how an athlete moves and figuring out what they need to work on to improve as an overall athlete. So what's a push press? Well, a push press is simply taking your standard overhead press and adding a little bit of leg drive to it, where some power is generated from the legs, transferred through the core and into the arms so that we can perform more weight or more reps with the overhead press pattern. So the push press is initiated with what we call a dip, drive, and then we have the press. So what we should see is the dip where the athlete's knees and hips flex, a drive where the athlete then violently extends knees, hips, and ankles. They're going to get into this triple extension position where the ankles are extended, knees extended, and hips are extended, prior to then the athlete pushing the barbell overhead. What will happen a lot of times is the athlete who's a little uncoordinated will start to stand, press early before their knees and hips fully extend, and they need to work on their coordination a little bit. Another thing we'll see from a coordination perspective is an athlete who drops down too fast, and the barbell will actually leave their shoulders versus staying smooth and in contact with the shoulders until the athlete's dip and drive is done. From there, if we look in the side viewpoint, we'll see a lot of athletes who end up dipping their torso forward versus keeping a vertical torso. If a vertical torso is achieved with the dip and drive, then the barbell is going to take a really vertical path. But if the athlete dips their torso forward, then as they stand and press, the barbell is going to get pushed out in front of them and will be in a really efficient movement pattern for moving the most weight or performing the most reps with the barbell. From there, we're going to look at what is called muted hip function. Greg Glassman discusses this in CrossFit Journal, and it's a really good insight into an athlete's overall movement pattern. Do they load their hips and quads with the push press, or do they simply go into a quad dominant pattern? Here's how we would diagnose a more quad dominant push press. First thing we'll see with a lot of athletes is instead of the weight staying even between their toes and their heels, we'll see the athlete that just shifts their weight forward onto their toes. And that might be so much that their heels rise up, or it might just be a clear shift forward. The second thing we'll see is a posterior tilt of their pelvis. So as the femur moves forward, we'll see the pelvis actually posteriorly tilt and low back round with it as the athlete goes into the dip. Instead of keeping a neutral pelvis, vertical torso, neutral core. Next, as the athlete is then pressing the barbell overhead, there are a couple things we want to look for. First, we want to see that the upper arm makes it to where it's in line with the ears, with the neck staying neutral. So they should get to this fully open position. What we'll see with a lot of athletes that have tightness in their shoulders or upper back is that they'll actually jut their head forward to try to buy themselves some false mobility. The other thing we'll see with people that have tight thoracic spine and shoulders is instead of keeping a neutral spine as the press goes overhead, they'll extend from their lower back to try to make up for that. So if they have this much shoulder flexibility, it's obviously not a good position to hold a barbell this far out in front of you. So what they'll end up doing is extending their lumbar spine so that they can get the barbell directly over their hips and feet as a way to compensate for a little lack of mobility. So if you're a coach or clinician, check out the push press as a way to see how your athletes move overall and gain some insight into what they need to work on. If you're an athlete, take a video of your push press and use these tips to analyze how you're doing with that movement pattern.